Imagine feeling eyes on you when no one is there. Imagine hearing your name whispered in the dark, receiving messages from someone who knows too much, someone who never stops watching. Stalking is one of the most terrifying real-life horrors, and for some unfortunate people, it never ends. These are the most creepy and unexplained stalker stories ever seen. What would you do if you realized someone was always watching? Could you escape, or would they always find you? Stay with me, because these real stories might just make you check over your shoulder tonight. For one family in Westfield, New Jersey, their dream home quickly became a nightmare. In 2014, Derek and Maria Broaddus purchased what they thought was their forever home. But before they could even move in, they received a chilling letter from someone who called themselves the Watcher. The letter read, "My grandfather watched this house in the 1920s. My father watched in the 1960s, and now it is my time. Do you know what lies within the walls of 657 Boulevard? Why are you here? I will find out." More letters followed, each more disturbing than the last. The Watcher knew details about their children, their schedules, even what rooms they were in at certain times. The family was terrified. Police investigated, but no suspect was ever found. To this day, no one knows who the Watcher was. Was this just an elaborate prank, or was someone truly obsessed with that house? And whoever dared to live inside it? And if so, why? Let us know what you think in the comments below. Imagine waking up to find chilling messages left outside your door. Every single day. That's what happened to the Williamson family in Long Island, New York. At first, it was just strange notes on their doorstep. "I see you," one said. "Nice red dress yesterday," another read. But then, it got worse. The stalker started leaving small gifts, some innocent like flowers, others terrifying, like a lock of hair. One night, the family found their front door handle covered in blood. The police were called, security cameras were installed, but somehow, the stalker always avoided being caught on camera. One night, the family woke up to their dog barking furiously. When they checked the security footage, they saw a shadowy figure standing at the edge of their property, staring at their house for hours. The next morning, a final note arrived. "You can run, but I will always find you." Terrified, the Williamson family decided to move away. The stalking stopped, or at least they thought it did. A year later, they received a single letter at their new home, 3 states away. It read, "Miss me?" Who is this relentless stalker, lurking in the shadows of their lives? And how did they always seem to know exactly where the family went, as if they were watching their every move? Was it someone they trusted? Someone close enough to blend in unnoticed? Or was it something even more sinister? A force beyond their worst fears? In 2019, a young woman named Emily moved into a new apartment in Los Angeles, hoping for a fresh start. But what she found was something out of a horror movie. After a few weeks, Emily began to notice strange things. At first, it was just little things. Objects shifting slightly, drawers mysteriously left open, and her cat staring, wide-eyed, at empty corners. But after a few weeks, Emily stumbled upon something far more disturbing. While dusting her bookshelf, her fingers brushed against something unusual, a tiny hidden camera, carefully concealed and aimed directly at her bed. Who planted this camera? How did they get inside her apartment? And, most chilling of all, why were they watching her? Share your theories in the comments below. Panicked, she searched her entire apartment. She found 3 more cameras, one in the bathroom vent, another behind a picture frame, and one inside a smoke detector. Emily was terrified. How is this happening? She immediately called the police, but the investigation led nowhere. The landlord denied any involvement. The previous tenant had no idea, no fingerprints, no suspects, no answers. Emily moved out immediately, but the fear never left her. Was she being watched for weeks, months, and the most disturbing question of all, was the stalker still watching her somewhere else? In 1980, Dorothy Jane Scott, a 32-year-old mother, began receiving disturbing phone calls from an unknown man. Somehow he knew where she was, what she was wearing, and even what she had done that day. Sometimes he professed his love. Oddly enough, other times he threatened to kill her. One night, after taking a coworker to the hospital, Dorothy disappeared from the parking lot. Her car was found burning miles away, but she had mysteriously vanished. Then the chilling calls started again, this time to her family. "I have her," the man would say. "I killed her." These calls lasted for years, taunting them and never leaving a trace. 4 years passed before Dorothy's remains were finally discovered, but her killer never found, and the eerie phone calls that had tormented her family for years, they stopped the very moment her body was recovered. Who was the mysterious caller? How did he always seem to know where she was? And why did he wait so long to reveal her fate? What do you think really happened to Dorothy? Share your theories in the comments below. A woman living in Oakland, California began noticing unsettling changes in her home. Some mornings, she'd wake to find her front door unlocked, even though she was sure she had locked it. Her belongings would be slightly out of place, just enough to make her question herself. And no matter where she went, she couldn't shake the eerie sensation of being watched. Then, the messages started. Texts from an unknown number. "I like your new haircut. I'll see you at work." But there was no name, no sender information, just the chilling realization that someone was watching. When she turned to the police, they told her there was nothing they could do. One night, as she lay in bed, she heard it, heavy, labored breathing drifting through the air vents. It was so loud, so distinct, that she couldn't ignore it. Her heart pounded as she listened, realizing she wasn't alone. The next day, maintenance arrived to investigate. What they found was terrifying. A hidden crawl space tucked above her apartment, with a mattress inside. Who had been living above her? How long had they been watching? And most disturbingly, why? No one was ever caught, and the mystery remains unsolved. Who was tormenting this woman, and what did they want? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Now, let's head to Colorado for a story so bizarre it sounds like a horror movie plot. In 2017, a woman named Amber was living alone in her apartment when she started noticing something strange. She began to notice the smallest, most unsettling changes. Objects shifting ever so slightly, as if moved by unseen hands. Keys were disappearing, doors were slightly open, that she swore she had closed. But what really sent chills down her spine was the teddy bear. Amber had a childhood teddy bear she kept on her bed, but one night she came home to find the bear sitting in the middle of her living room. She thought maybe she had moved it and forgotten, but then it happened again and again. Consumed by fear, Amber decided to set up a hidden camera, desperate for answers. But nothing could have prepared her for what she captured. In the dead of night, the footage revealed a figure, an unfamiliar man emerging from her attic, his movements slow and deliberate. He crept through her apartment with eerie familiarity, running his fingers over her belongings as if they were his own. He picked up her teddy bear, tilting his head as he studied it, then carefully placed it back, just slightly out of place. And then he turned toward her bedroom. He stood in the doorway, silent and unmoving, his gaze fixed on her as she slept. Seconds turned to minutes. Minutes stretched into hours. He never flinched. He never looked away, just watching, waiting. Amber had been living with a nightmare, one she didn't even know was real. Amber called the police immediately, and when they searched her attic, they found a makeshift bed, food wrappers, and a journal filled with obsessive notes about her. The stalker had been living above her for months. Can you imagine discovering that someone had been watching you sleep every night without you knowing? Let me know in the comments below what you would do in that situation. Some stalkers slip up, leaving behind clues that lead to their capture. Others vanish without a trace, melting into the shadows as if they were never there. But the most terrifying ones? The ones who haunt your nightmares? They're the ones who are never found, the ones who could still be out there, lurking just beyond sight, watching, waiting, studying your every move, learning your routines, blending into the background so perfectly that you'd never notice them, until it's too late.